Hi there, my dear loving souls. Welcome back to part 2 of the video series today on practicing love using your heart. Thank you for coming back to part 2, the application part of the universal laws. And as alluded to in part 1, I really want to use the Holy Trinity of Love framework in order to be able to discuss some of these practical tips that I have sort of come to me. So, thinking love, speaking love, doing love. So let's kick off with thinking love. And the first thing that comes to my mind is if we put our attention into our heart as being the leading force or the driving force behind our functionality of our mind, which is to do with your thoughts, ideas, then I think the function of our heart coming from a place of love is to actually help you become aware of what the mind is doing, what sort of thoughts are running through your head, and to distinguish them between being like helpful, useful to you, or not so helpful and being useful to you in your outside world. So when you become more attuned with your organ of your heart and the power of love, and applying it to your thoughts, your mind, you become a much more aware of what's going on in your mind. It's kind of like being able to realize that when a thought comes through, instead of just going with it, you click on, or you switch on the light, spotlight on that thought, and that's where the awareness comes into being. Awareness of a particular thought, awareness of a particular stream of consciousness that you have going on in your mind. And becoming aware, I think, is actually really powerful. And I genuinely think that's your spiritual body, through the power of love, effectively trying to get your attention to become aware as to, what is going on in here. And your awareness of your thoughts can, I kind of split them into the buckets of internal and external, right? So there is an internal rhetoric or internal stream of consciousness, that can happen, which is all about your thoughts about yourself, or like a self-reflection, self-review, saying some things to yourself in your own mind. Sometimes you can distinctly hear certain words in your mind, right, other than a voice speaking to your internal self. It's all about you. Whereas the external bucket is all about processing what's on the outside and reacting to it, or making a comment about it, or a judgment, or something that is triggered by the external world, and you're reflecting on that, and as a result, there will be a stream of consciousness that kind of runs through your mind about those external aspects. Now, I'm a big believer in a mirror principle, in that I think whatever you internalize, the universe, or the external world, the universe assists you to set up circumstances in your external world to reflect what your internal world is actually like. And so I'll repeat that. Whatever your internal state is like, the external circumstances will reflect that. And that means the breadth and the depth of your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings. And that is quite a realization that I have come into my life, sort of my own personal wisdoms, or pearls of wisdom that I can share. And I, as a result of that kind of aha moment in my life, I became aware, through my heart, through my spirit, as to how important it is to be very mindful and aware as to what's going on in your mind, through your thoughts, as well as in your heart, through the power of love, and all the other signals through our physical body and our emotional body as well, or emotions and feelings that come through. And the more I can become aware of them and influence them towards a more high frequency or positive vibes, the more likely my external world or external circumstances, the people in my life, things just happening around, my local community or the world at large or whatever, are reflected depending on my internal state. Now, and it is a bit of a dance. I think it is a bit of a dance, as in trying to ensure that whatever happens externally, which may appear to be quite negative and, disaster-like, doesn't have as much of a negative impact on your internal world, because as a result, if you get yourself or your internal world becomes in the low frequency vibes, then it feels like, to me, the external circumstances are simply going to repeat themselves or recycle themselves in a variety different of shapes and forms to promulgate the whole point that your internal world reflects the external world. And so if you get onto the bandwagon of thinking and feeling very low frequency emotions, or just on the lower spectrum, then your external circumstances are going to keep repeating it in a variety of shapes and forms. But if you start rising your own vibration, literally through your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings, and not letting the external world have as much of an impact on you, or disproportionate impact on you, then it is very likely that you're able to preserve your internal peace, tranquility, love, happiness, and joy. And as a result of that, the mirror principle will kick in, and actually the universe will assist in revealing to you more circumstances, more people, more moments of luck or synchronicities, in order to keep boosting that kind of equation or formula, if you will, to try and prove to you that yes, the more internally peaceful and calm and collected and acting from a place of love you are, the more your external circumstances will reflect that. And I think there's a lot of power with that. Now, sometimes it can happen instantaneously. Sometimes, in planet Earth, in this physical reality, some things take a little bit more time. But acting from that place of heart, and remembering what I said before about being aware, opening up the awareness aspect to what we are capable of doing as a human being, it becomes quite magical when you do realize how much your internal world is reflected in the external world, including the little things. When you get little surprises, like somebody making you a nice cup of coffee, or bringing you a nice little gift basket, or giving you an opportunity to go to some social event, or just having a little bit more fun, or bringing you some food, or even bigger things. A lovely opportunity comes to purchase the dream home, or get the dream job, like the bigger things. Or if you're thinking about having a baby and you've been struggling, and all of a sudden, boom, it happens for you. So the smaller things and the bigger things, it's very important to become aware of those blessings and all the good things that come when you are in that internal, tranquil, peaceful, loving state. So you're working on your internal world, and when you see things happening in the external world, becoming aware of those things and showing some gratitude, which we'll talk about. And when we're talking about doing love, I think it's very crucial and important, and it becomes like instead of a spiral down, it becomes a spiral up. The more you work on your internal world and you see things happening externally and becoming aware and grateful for them, it's like the more faster, I think from a time perspective, faster things are happening, that spiral up. But also you start recognizing other blessings, other little joys coming your way like a powerful force. It's very beautiful, quite frankly. So that's all I really wanted to say on thinking love. A very worthy mention, I think, in between the thinking love and speaking love aspects of the Holy Trinity of love is what I think is an act of love in itself, and that's a prayer. Okay, and I appreciate not everybody prays, but for me, a prayer is equivalent to thoughts or thinking, right? But with an additional aspect that your intention is to address whatever it is that you believe in, be that yourself, your soul, your higher self, this planet, planet Gaia, or any one of the ascended masters, or God, source, whatever the jargon you wish to use. So the prayer is just thinking and addressing, trying to connect with whatever it is that you believe in. The reason I want to make it as a worthy mention, because it could be through your thoughts in your mind, or you might be willing to actually speak it out loud, right? Nothing wrong with that, whatever it is that you believe in. And I do truly believe that whenever you're in a state of prayer, you are actually acting from your heart, from your soul, from your spirit, from that core self. And that's why it feels like such a vulnerable yet sacred space when you're in that state. And I encourage more people on this channel to pray more, to connect more with whoever it is that you believe in, because I do think inherently it is an act of love. As an example, if you believe in your in the spirit world and ancestors, as an example, and you're wishing to connect with them, pray to them, sort of connect with them, mention something. And the reason I think it's an act of love, it's because it's equivalent to if somebody were to call you, somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or an old friend or a family member, and you pick up the phone and you have a lovely chat, you share some love or thoughts or whatever it might be, like, makes you feel good, right? Like a good vibe feel. So why would that be any different when you're trying to connect with a loved one that has crossed over, or an old pet as well, that you used to have, as an example. So I think it's an act of love because you're establishing that connection. Alright, dear team, let's go into more speaking love specifically. And whatever you can think, you can obviously speak. But under this umbrella, I really want to mention how important it is when thinking about using your heart and practicing love, that it is crucial and very significant when it comes to what you say, and likewise how you say it. Let me repeat that. What you say and how you say it. In other words, the what part is the content, the substance of your words, message that you're trying to relate to another human or group of people, as well as the tone. The tone can say, a lot to another individual because it carries a lot of, contextual clues as to the message that you're trying to convey. And likewise, with that comes the body language. And they say, that 90% of any kind of communication between individuals or human beings actually resides in the body language rather than the words, because we pick up on those things. Our brain, when it's processing something, like, it picks up on everything that is occurring, right? And look, I'm just gesturing with my hands, and you're probably picking that up, even though you might not consciously be picking up that Viktoriya's moving your hands, but your mind will be picking that up and processing to try and understand me as the sender, what I'm trying to send to you or convey to you as a message, you being the receiver. And with that, as I mentioned before, when we're acting from a place of heart, our love, our spirit, awareness becomes very important. Because sometimes I think we get into the habit of using certain words or phrases, and sometimes we do it automatically without even realizing how much we've gotten into the habit of saying certain words and phrases. Now, think about cause language, right? How quickly it can come out sometimes at the tip of your tongue in a variety of different contexts if you get into the habit of saying certain words. And then if you become aware of the fact that, hey, I keep saying these things over and over and over and over again, that, I think, is you becoming aware. Are you acting from your spiritual or your loving self? And you can make a decision or your choice, right? Whether it's something you want to continue with as a habit or not. And once you become aware of it, you can make that choice and some steps if you do want to change that kind of habit and behavior. And what I think where I have become, or learning, I'm still in a learning phase, of becoming aware of those words or phrases that I say and how I say them, and turning them into more like a positive habit, as in, I would rather say something nice to the people around me, like a thank you, like very simple thank you for whatever it is, for an interaction or for a nice word, as well as complimenting somebody, or, have a lovely day, have a nice day, even those little things, because I'd rather get into the habit of doing or saying those things and phrases as opposed to personally, cause language that in my world I think carries, a low frequency. That's not to say, I don't use that language. Sometimes I do, so long as it doesn't become a habit, right? And that's real the crux there. So, on speaking love, if we're acting from our heart, becoming aware is crucial. Words, now I think words are powerful because they carry, like, there's force behind words, as in our thoughts, they're still sort of in like a spirit realm frequency. Human beings can't see or visualize your thoughts, right, in the planet Earth realm, even though they might sense it sometimes. They can't actually see them. But with words, right, so long as a person can hear through their ears, they'll hear you. So it's sort of bringing that thoughts of the spirit world frequency realm into physical manifestation here on planet Earth through the sound and the use of our voice, and throat, and, the organ of being able to speak. Here we go, sorry. It's really funny that I'm having trouble speaking right now. It's really ironic. But there's force behind it, right? There's force behind a particular thought, particular word, bringing it into a reality, into literally physical reality here on planet Earth. So what I want to suggest there is just start, if you want to practice and use your heart a little bit more, tap into your heart and become aware on a daily basis. What words are you using? What phrases are common? And then figure them out. Is that something you want to work on? Are there elements or words that you're not happy with? And so how can you go about and change them in order for the better, for you to be more loving, for your body language to be more conducive to the messages that you want to convey, for your tone perhaps to be more soft and gentle and loving, as opposed to being aggressive and forceful, as an example. So, but ultimately it's your freedom of choice as to how you want to be, and whatever feels right to you, so long as you're acting from your heart and your spirit, then you'll know when it feels right. And let's jump into the last bucket, which is doing love. And here it's all about, the key message I want to relay is, if you act from your heart, whatever the action might be, or doing word, doing element, you can go wrong. Okay, act from your heart, you can go wrong. And sometimes you can even physically, and you'll see me talk about this a lot, touch your heart if you're not sure which choice to make or which action to take, what to do. Put the hand on your heart and really listen. Listen to what it's telling you. You'll feel one way or another, whether something feels a little bit more right, or that inner voice, that inner sensations, feelings, or not. If you act from your heart, you can go wrong. And on the like a practical tip that I can suggest you may wish to exercise, or give it a go, experiment it, is how you can sometimes tell your mind what to do or what to think. You're sort of like forcing a particular phrase to come through, or visual imagination, you can kind of force it to happen. Or you can also likewise do the same, I believe, with your heart, and hence this is the using your heart bit that is quite important for the subject matter, and it's to send a bit of an intention or like an instruction to your heart to actually reach to it and be like, I really want to act from my heart now. So it's sort of signaling to your whole body, quite frankly, that you're in charge, the software behind you, the spirit is in charge, that awareness aspect of you is in charge, to say, whatever I am thinking about on, XYZ, or whatever my choice is in order to do that next, XYZ step, I want to act from my heart. I want to act from my soul. I want to act from my spirit. I'm sending intention to my heart, for my heart and my soul to come affront, to come to the, forward, to come up, and to make me realize or have certain thoughts or feelings or sensations that are inherently coming from the place of my heart. So it's sort of like you sending an instruction to your whole body, including the organ of your brain, the mind, to be like, right, we're changing the lane, changing gear here, where that's actually the heart's going to come forward, it's going to come through, and we're going to be listening to what the heart's got to say. And it's as if you're trying to change the perspective, and I have felt this in my life. Whenever I do this, it is like I am shifting my perspective. So sometimes I like to even close my eyes, be a little bit in like a meditative state, if you will, even if it's like for a minute. But instead of acting from my mind, from my brain, and having my eyes open, looking at the external world, I'd rather go inward and literally imagine as if my whole self, goes into my heart and I turn myself into like this tiny little thing, as if I am within the organ of my heart, and I just sit there and I sense and I become aware as to everything that is sent my way, be that feelings and sensations or visuals that come through in my mind, thoughts, words, or anything that just comes out of the blue, or externally, something might randomly happen externally in your world, be that when you're listening to music or TV, or an ad comes through, or somebody says something, so I become very, very attuned to the inside world and the external world at that point in time, when I shift that perspective to be literally in the place of my heart. So that might be helpful for some of you. Oh, no, I'm mindful that the time is running out here as well. Look at that. So just to reiterate, we talked about the Holy Trinity of love, of thinking love, speaking love, and doing love in the context of practicing love and using your heart. For a lot of these, as I mentioned before, I do believe that it's becoming aware of your thoughts, your words, and your actions, and then that's the application of you using your heart, so becoming aware of your thoughts, words, and your actions. And when you become aware of those things, then you can figure out next, which is, right, is there a mismatch, potentially, or disconnect between how I wish to think, or what I say on a regular, or become a habit of saying, or habit of doing, some choices I'm making, some actions I am giving effect to? Is there a mismatch? And if there is, question it, what's going on? Be true and open with yourself as to what's truly going on. Where is this coming from? And you have the power to change. You have the freedom of choice to be able to change how you think, what you say, and what you do. Every single time you have that freedom of choice, and we all get to have that when we're on planet Earth, 100%. Now, what I want to leave with before we jump into part 3, which is that phrase I mentioned before. If you act from your heart, you can't go wrong. And I want to reiterate that from like a Holy Trinity of love perspective, which is, if you think from your heart, if you speak from your heart, if you act or you do from your heart, you can't go wrong. If you agree with that, please put thumbs up emoji down in the comments, or something of that nature, because that would be really helpful. And likewise, V for value, if you believe that any of this content actually resonated with you, and if you think there's some truth to it, sometimes don't take my word for it, listen to your heart, put your hand to your heart and actually feel in your vibration whether or not anything I've discussed here today on this video series, whether there's an element of truth or something feels right. If that's the case, I would really appreciate it if thumbs up or V for value or that emoji with 2 fingers. That would be really, really cool and very much appreciated by me. Yeah, genuinely. Alright, my dear loving souls, on that note, I'm mindful of the time. Let's just jump into part 3, the messages from the spirit world on the subject matter. Click on the link down below for part 3, and I will see you shortly.